Now let's get to my presentation, Navigating the Complexity of Cloud Security Challenges, Vulnerabilities, and Common Solutions Needed in 2024. I hope you enjoy it. So let's talk about navigating the complexity of cloud security, including the challenges, vulnerabilities, and common solutions needed in 2024. We're moving in two major directions here. We're moving into a complex, heterogeneous world where ubiquitous computing is really how people are deploying these days. So no longer are we moving into a centralized cloud computing environment, but we're moving into a world where we're deploying on whatever systems that we feel are going to be the best of breed solutions for the applications and the data sets that we have. So if you've noticed that things have gotten a lot complex, you're right. Now we have the advent of generative AI systems that are being brought into this world of complexity. So in other words, we're bringing up the fact that we're in an environment that we really don't have operational control of, if you're honest with yourself, and adding generative AI systems that are adding another layer of data, another layer of processing that on top of these complex systems. So SaaS-based systems, private clouds, edge computing, all these things really kind of are the moving parts that we need to track and secure. And we're having a huge amount of trouble keeping up with the security challenges that we're running into. So how are we going to deal with enterprise security in the realm of this? Well, it is going to be a matter of us understanding the fact that complexity is going to be a reality moving forward. We're not going to simplify things. So we're not moving into a centralized system where we're dealing with the same platform, the same security silos, the same data silos. It's always going to be different. So in order for CISOs to adapt to this, we need to provide them with the ability to see the fact that this environment needs to be managed a different way. So abstraction and automation are the way that we need to consider this. In other words, we're dealing with all of these systems at a much more lower level. We're dealing with the data, we're dealing with the applications, we're dealing with the governance, we're dealing with the data privacy, we're dealing with a number of different moving parts. What we can't do is deal with these systems within silos. So as you know, the way in which we approach security in days gone by is to build security systems on top of whatever systems that we had. So security was normally the last step in the chain. In other words, we built an environment, we built a system, something that was a major driver for the enterprise. And security was the last step. And we built those things in such a way where it was always going to be bespoke for the particular data and the particular applications. Now it's changing. Now security is going to be something that needs to deal with many different patterns, many different data sets, many different platforms. And no longer can we build silo-based security to allow us to take control of these very heterogeneous and these very complex environments. For many of you, this is a different way of thinking. We were kind of brought up understanding that security could be a tactical solution, that it could be something that we bolt on as the end step to the process. Those of you who are in the know or that run enterprise security systems are already going to tell me that that won't scale. We have to have the ability to adopt common solutions, provide common security layers, provide common governance layers, common data management layers, common operational layers, and SecOps layers that are able to span these various systems. And that's going to be a much harder problem to solve. So how do we go about it? Well, first, we need to understand that if we don't have solutions that exist above various types of platforms, widely distributed, edge-based computing, private clouds, public clouds, any number of systems, mobile computing, this wristwatch, that we're not going to have the solution to the problem. So we need to deal with technology that's able to have a much wider span of control and a much wider span of security and able to provide most of the security services that are needed, encryption, identity access management, and the ability to manage these things in such a way where we're putting volatility into a domain. So in other words, these things are always going to be changing on us. They're going to be moving around, and people are going to be changing and versioning these systems, changing the software adding platforms, removing platforms. So the only way to keep up with the security load of those systems is to put volatility into a single domain or a single layer of security solutions that's able to deal with change through configuration, not reprogramming, is able to deal with change by not changing security systems that exist at a silo. And that's a bit of a new way of thinking. You hear the marketing terms out there, and I've been involved with some of them: meta cloud, super cloud. All that is the ability to deal with common security solutions, common operation solutions, common governance solutions through a single layer of technology, through a stack that sits above the various platforms, above the applications, above any number of different systems that are going to be changeable as our needs change. So no longer is this going to be, I need to identify a security for a particular cloud provider. I need to identify security for a particular private cloud, a particular system that I'm building. This is going to be dealing with security as it always should be dealt with, as a systemic problem where we're dealing with the complexity of these issues and the ubiquitous nature of the networks, ubiquitous natures of the applications, at a layer where we can drive change and we can drive control and do so through a single interface that allows us to, in essence, provide a security solution that's going to be able to take us to the next steps where this environment is going. Let's look at generative AI. So a couple of things are likely going to happen. Number one, we're going to see the addition of many additional database platforms out there. So in other words, generative AI needs training data. Training data typically comes from databases. Databases need to be dealt with as a storage systems that also need to be secured. So that's going to add additional storage load to the existing security needs. In other words, we're sometimes going to consume data from existing databases, but in many instances, we're going to create net new systems. They're going to be new versions of the database that have gone through a different hygiene, checking, gone through different processing by data scientists that need to be loaded into the system. The problem is that we have a tendency within these generative AI systems, the way we build them now, again, to deal with them through siloed-based security. And I don't think we can deal with them that way, even though they are specialized systems and they have specialized capabilities and the ability to bring a different layer of knowledge into these environments is incredibly valuable. We have to include these into the portfolios of systems, into the complexity, so to speak, that we're dealing with as part of this environment. So I'm talking about this because I see a trend that we're going to have a specialized bespoke security solution for this generative AI system to take our security game to the next level. Not needed. Again, if I can't fit these systems into the existing security framework, then I probably need to look at my security framework and start changing the stack. You got to remember, this is going to be a number of different security products that exist at this higher level, but they need to span platforms. They need to span patterns of data. They need to span the generative AI systems that you're building and the data that they're consuming and the output that's being produced. We need to deal with these things on our terms, not necessarily the terms of the particular security systems that we're dealing with in the silo. So this becomes the challenge that we're facing in 2024. And I think those CISOs that are in the know, people I deal with that are dealing with SecOps every day and the ability to look at different security products and take their security game to the next level, are starting to do the planning and the configuration and the resource acquisitions to start moving in this direction. It's got to happen. Nothing else will work. We're not going to be able to operationalize security at the scale and the complexity that we're going to need. The hackers, the bad actors are getting very clever out there using generative AI systems as a weapon. We need to have security systems that are bound at a much more higher level, that are able to look into these various systems, able to deal with them using the needs and the requirements of the particular security systems of the systems we're talking to, but never do this in a way that's going to be siloed around particular applications, the particular databases, the particular ways that we're looking at. So the planning needs to start now. This is something you can't put off until 2025, 2026. So one of the things I'd like you to do today as a homework assignment is to listen to each speaker and try to understand the way in which they're looking at their environment, and try to understand the more holistic aspects of what they're talking about. The thinking should be, how do I solve problems across a variable set of technologies, a variable set of databases, an expanding and changing set of systems? Generative AI is coming along, something's going to come after that. We're dealing with cloud now. We're finding that the existing on-premise systems aren't going away. Those are going to be maintained for a long period of time. We're standing up edge computing. We're standing up mobile computing, different platforms, different varieties of things that are starting to emerge. So your ability to define security in this one big super layer, this one big common layer that sits above these various systems, is going to lead to your success. And we need to start looking at solutions that are moving in those directions, and moving in those directions in a way where we're going to have viable technology, including technology of the company hosting this event, that's able to solve more than a single siloed problem. It's able to deal with different patterns instead of only databases. It's able to deal with applications as well. It's able to deal with a variety of networks, a variety of platforms, and how we leverage those systems. And by doing that, by becoming very clever in how we're building these things up and how we're looking at these things across cloud solution, that's the only way we're going to get to a scalable value. So take a look at that and kind of take this away, as a homework assignment. Look at what you're doing in your organization and look at the security silos that you have, and everybody has them. And look at how they can be broken apart and how you can use more strategic technology to get to a state where the additional complexity, the additional evolutions of technology, the additional capabilities of the bad actors that are attacking these systems, which is what we're dealing with today, are going to be able to be defended from a single layer that's able to span as many systems as we have under our control. And it's going to take you a while to get there. Some of you are dealing with very complex systems now. Environments where this looks like it's going to be an impossibility. The way you do it is you take it a domain at a time. In other words, you take a department, you take a system, you take whatever, you start transferring it over to this new way of doing centralized and abstracted security. And if you do that enough times, you're going to start whittling away and having little battles that win the war, and get to a state where you're going to get to a better security posture, and you should be able to bring a lot more value back to the business. Because isn't that what it's all about? Thank you.